Good morning, good morning.
Boker Tov, Rabbi Prague.
Boker Tov, Boker Mitzion.
Yep.
Here in upstate, the sun is shining. How about New York?
Not yet.
Not
In Jersey, it's nice. Not bright, but it's decent compared to the rain we had last night. We had big rain last night.
yeah,
Yes, everybody seemed to have.
yeah. This parasha Kiteitzeh, this week, Parashat Kiteitzeh, there's more aseh and lo ta'aseh more than any other mitzvah. It's a total of almost 90, 80 and something mitzvot aseh and lo ta'aseh. And the first mitzvah that the Torah begins here is the famous case of Yefat Torah. The Jewish army is going to a Melchemet Reshut, and they are victorious. They are victorious. Unetanu Hashem Elokecha biyadecha. Somehow he's attracted to a non-Jewish woman. We saw yesterday two opinions in the Rishonim. Is he permitted to have a relationship once at the war on the condition that he gives her a chance to convert and then he would marry her or not? So machloket Rambam, Rashi, and Tosafot. But this strong desire that cannot be controlled, that the Torah has to give him a green light, is we saw yesterday even by a Kohen. Somehow, if the Kohen ended up in a war, even though the Kohen can never marry the woman. And the biggest question, of course, is that those who were chosen to go out to a war are always very special people. We saw it in Chumash many times. When they go out to fight Amalek, which is the end of the parasha, Vayomer Moshe el Yoshua, Bechar lanu anashim. Bechar lanu anashim. Says Rashi, anashim chachamim, anashim tzadikim. Which means the Torah is telling us the best people, the nicest people, scholars and Yirei Shamayim, but in certain situations, it's very difficult to I have a friend who told me yesterday that in 1982, when Israel invaded Lebanon, it's called the first Lebanon war, he had a good friend that was in the front. He was a commander of a tank. And he stuck his head from the tank as the tank is moving. He saw, we forgot the name, the PLO member standing and trying to throw in a hand grenade into tanks. So he says, when it was seconds, I did what I was supposed to do. Now he's telling my friend. But then I started to think, remember, he knows that the man is dead. He started to think, the man is probably a father, he's a husband, and he says it took him a long time to convince, so to say, his inner feelings as a religious Jewish boy from Yeshivat Isder. What he's trying to say here, it's difficult for us. We read it the way it's written. The nicest people who are very morally right, this is until you are in a mood of a war. Remember that today's war, you have a machine gun and you don't really see the enemy so close. In the olden times, you have a knife. You have a spear and you kill. Basically, you have to bring out the darkest feelings and emotions that the human being has, which is to fight for survival. These animalistic desires are connected to other desires that we have, And even though we have layers of morality and layers of religiosity, but the Torah says here, you're facing serious war. Now, here's a...
Rabbi, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So the machloket that you mentioned between the Ramban, Tosafot with Rashi. So if they say that you can't be with her at the time of war, so the last line that says Lo titamer ba tat asher in nitah sounds like a proof to Rashi. Like don't sell her as a slave. You made her suffer. What's in nitah? It sounds like he was with her already. If you weren't with her, then what's the tachat asher in nitah?
Yeah. So, Tachat asher nitah means you took a woman with long blonde hair and blue eyes also, and you made her shave the head. Did you ever think about it, David? Yeah? Take a beautiful, by a woman, the hair is over 50% of the looks. This is why the halacha says a woman has to cover her. Cover your hair. Remove the beautiful garments that you wear. Come to my house. Look how beautiful my wife is dressed. Don't manicure. Don't. This for every human being, especially, remember, she came from a family. She came with a thought that she's going to gain a lot from this war. And David, this is the biggest inui. The inui here is humiliation, not the physical humiliation. But David, the main raya is because it says in the beginning, וראית בשביה וחשקת בה ולקחת לך לאישה. This is pasuk, the second pasuk.
Lakachta, yeah.
David then לא פסוק י"א. פסוק י"ג, ואחר כך תבוא אליה ובעלתה והייתה לך לאישה. She was already לאישה, no? This is a machloket. The Ramban says על דרך הפשט, you cannot touch the woman in the war. You can take her home. But you understand, this parasha was only in Melchemet Reshut.
But it's also interesting, Rabbi Prague, that the other time where because we sort of discussed it this week, the other time when we have this word inui, one of the first times, is by Dinah, and there Rashi says Vini. I think he says Shalom Kedarka, and here Rashi does not comment.
The difference is Shama Katuv, but by Dinah it says Vayishkavota.
Vayaneha.
What is the double lashon?
Right. But
you remember the second step, but the first step Rashi says Vayishkavota Kedarka, Vayanea Shelo
Kedarka. Sure.
It's not only because of the word Vayanea, it's the fact that it's written the second time. The question is, here is a mitzvah aseh that doesn't apply anymore since the time of David, let's say. After David, unfortunately, most of the wars are wars of not Melchemet Mitzvah, it's more of Melchemet Reshut. David is there. Is it possible that there is a mitzvah that was written then? This is it? The same question, of course, we can ask. Sefer Dvarim is filled with don't do Avodah Zarah, don't follow, don't emulate it. There's no Avodah Zarah, finished. The Gemara says at the beginning of the second temple, the Sheikh Knesset HaGedolah realized the damage that Avodah Zarah does, the attraction to Avodah Zarah. You have to say, remember, you have to have guts to say it, but you have to say that there are other forms of this type of the Averas. Avodah Zarah, I told you many times that serious commentators, this is not, Sudash Lishi type. For Avodah Zarah, they say in every generation, there is the Avodah Zarah of the generation. Avodah Zarah means that deeply inside, we believe that this Avodah Zarah at that time, of course, has a power to help me. So the Akedah Yitzchak is a commentator 600 years ago. He was in Turkey in the best times of Turkey. He says, in my time, He's talking about a community that everyone is Shomer Shabbat, everyone is putting tefillin. He says, in my community, money is Avodah Zarah. There's no doubt in my mind. He said. No, but forget now the money, which is correct anyway, but his point is, Lo yitachen. The mitzvah is written and the mitzvah disappears. Ki teitzel hamilchama lo ivecha is exactly the same type of mitzvah. So what happens to the mitzvah? This is why if you look in the later commentators, the most famous one is the Or Chaim HaKadosh. This is 300 years ago. He says every person has his own milchama. Ki teitzeh lamilchama lo ivecha. The Torah is teaching us in day to day, generation to generation, challenges, yes? How to conquer. It's a fascinating Or Chaim, yes? But everything here is alluding. So even though normally we would say that this is not the pshat, and of course here it's not the pshat because this is the halachic case. Nevertheless, the Torah is teaching us even up to date.
How does Or Chaim learn Deraita b'Shivya?
He teaches it in two ways. One way he learns, if I would read you here, where is it there? It's not from the Or Chaim, but I'll read you from others. Remember, but to say it, it's very dangerous because there's always, especially in our generation, previous generation, according to the Zohar and the Hari, I'm using an example only. Dinah was raped, correct? Definitely raped. Hundreds of years later, who is a descendant of Dinah from the rape? Who? Rab Chanina ben Radion, yes? והארץ רחבת ידיים, ראשי תיבות, רב חנינא בן תרדיון, the מקובלים make big deal of it. What does it mean? The language that he says is, remember, we never speak about it, but here the Or Chaim speaks in length about it. There is always a spark of something good in other nations, and sometimes it's dangerous to say it's prearranged in order for
To
this.
extract the neshama.
This is exactly, but kach הם אומרים. So for instance, when the Gemara says that Avshalom was the child, David took his mother was very attractive, very, very attractive. Avshalom was born. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, I'm using an example only, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that after Avshalom was killed, even though David gave clear instructions to Yoav not to kill him, he killed him. Yoav acted as a good general. We cannot have this. Fine. It says that David was crying and sobbing. If you count, the Gemara says, it says the word, I'll read you the pasuk. David is crying, Beni, 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 Avshalom, Avshalom, Beni. The Gemara says every time, he said Beni, he took him out from a different level of Gehenna. There are 7 levels. I can say it. What does it mean? The man has to be shot between his eyes because you rebelled against your father who gave you permission to come after you murdered your brother. So they take it, but if you have time, David, you're still in the summer. Look in the Or Chaim and this week's parasha. But something that applies to me and you, the Alshich says, מה פירוש כי תצא למלחמה על אויביך, כי תצאו למלחמה על אויביכם. It should be in plural, not in the singular. Says the Alshich, remember the Alshich was in Sfat in the time of the Ari. The Alshich says, the secret of כי תצא למלחמה ונתנו השם אלוקיך בידיך, the secret for us to be victorious is the unity that we have like one. Here it is. כי תצא, of course it's talking about tens of thousands, but you are going out as one. Not only one to conquer Hamas, as one between us, we have a goal together, and the goal is to do what Hashem wants to do, and one of the ways, after the Sanhedrin gave us a green light, this is what he says. I mean, I'm using this as an example, what lessons that we can learn from this topic of, just a second, I just want to read you here. Here, David, I mean, it's easy. I mean, it's easy for me to say, but all this stuff is very dangerous if it falls on an ear or eye or thought of man. He says, David knew that his Achilles' heel is a woman. It's a fact. Please remember that in a war, thousands of women are coming either for the husbands or to make money or to whatever. Yeah? David wants to make sure that his mind is clear, yes? His mind is clear of thinking. I mean, I can easily say it. I understand what I'm saying, but
I don't know how that was possible, considering I have one wife and my mind isn't clear, and David HaMelech had 18 wives.
No,
I
but
could just imagine that, not by comparison, chas v'chalila.
but this is the point. This is the point. You should know.
What, David wanted to clear his mind. That's why he took the Shayef HaTorah to clear his mind during war.
You'll think all the time about women because you see thousands of women with bikinis, not with the long gowns and a wig. You understand? They came to attract. You go to certain weddings, David, it's very, very difficult, yes? Did you ever see when Chacham Ovadia used to come to? Chacham Ovadia knew many Gemarot Baal Peh. When he made Berachot and a chuppah, he used to stand with a siddur like this. He didn't know the Berachot, David? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על האריות, המלך and myself. The answer is, Chacham Ovadia himself.
So maybe that's what the Torah is teaching it. I mean, we're going to learn from David what the purpose of this mitzvah. The purpose of this mitzvah is when you're in such a state. So use the heter better.
David, see how you say it. The way you say it is okay. We have a heter now. Yes. Don't be at the wedding. But David is the commander-in-chief that has to conquer them. And he's only going to conquer them if his head is clear. It's the exact opposite of what you said, yes? This is exactly
No, I'm saying because he has to be in such a situation, sometimes you're placed in a situation, so don't try to be a hero, but the Torah gave you the heter, use the heter.
This is exactly the point, David, of your fatwa. Jimmy says yesterday, according to this Rishonim, Ramban says, Pshuto shel Mikra, don't touch the woman at war until you bring her home. And can you imagine? Shave your beautiful blonde hair. In Yiddish you say shmate, take a robe that my wife is wiping the floor with and wear it, yes? Then, so what's the point? This is the point, because subconsciously, if you want to calm the desires that you have a woman. Let me read you a second here.
Rabbi Prague?
Just give me half a second. Here, David, I'll read it to you. If I would be the one, I wouldn't print this piece. כה כתב רבנו קדוש השם האריזה, דיוויד יאיר, ידוע כי כל אותם ההולכים למלחמה היו צדיקים גמורים. ואם כן, לצדיק גמור כזה, real righteous man, אי אפשר שיתגבר עליו יצר הרע לטמא עצמו. There's no way the Torah is not going to protect you from having desires like that. ולכן, הודיעתו התורה, the Torah is teaching us that if you do feel attracted, obviously there is a spark of Kedusha mixed. It's very easy, and as David, as you said before, we can now preach to all the soldiers, you're tzaddikim, aren't you? No? So you feel attracted to the woman, do whatever you want, because you're doing, this is exactly what Shabtai Tzvi and tens of like him did, yeah? If Kabbalah goes too much into the head of people without really being ready for it, yeah? ולכן התירה התורה שיבוא עליה, ותיכנס האישה ההיא לקדושה ותתגייר, yes? But still, Ben Sorer Umore, can you imagine if I want, I can teach this Ari, that here the Kabbalah says you have to do it, not only you permitted to do it. Of course, it's the exact opposite.
You know, Rabbi Prague?
Yes, yes, please.
I've had the pleasure of learning with you, I don't know now, I think 6 or 7 years.
Yes,
And we've been to Kitetse, and the Parsha is filled, like you said at the beginning, with so many mitzvot. And year after year, I wonder why we spend so much time on this.
Good question.
But the word chashakta has been on my mind.
Yeah,
I mean, all right, maybe I don't have a cheshek like this, but the Torah is going out of its way in this one specific instance to give like something that, you know, because you can't control, okay, Mail, in this instance, they didn't do it, well, they did it in a way with food in the Milchemet Rishut, but maybe, why didn't they say it? I have a cheshek for Avodah Zarah. Why didn't they give me a head?
באמת קושיה, זה קושיה באמת טובה מאוד, באמת לתשובה goes like this. Me and you are over 70, you speak to teenagers who make mistakes, sometimes big mistakes. You know what the most difficult part with teenagers, and they are wonderful kids. But Rabbi, if you would know what I did, I don't care what you did. The Torah is telling us the nicest and the best. I mean, if you really talk to, this is very often, you talk to people who sincerely changed, became sincere Baalei Tshuva, and you say, Rabbi, but my past, I'm not interested in your past. Look what happened here. This is the nicest and the best. This is what the Torah wants to reveal. It's part of the human challenge. I mean, the best proof for that, of course, is that
maybe that's the answer, Rabbi, that Avodah Zarah is not a natural urge.
today,
But Arayot is a natural urge.
David,
Yeah, but that's today.
exactly,
Then it was.
This is exactly, David, what he tells you is the truth. The Gemara says, you remember when Menashe says to Ravashi, had you been in my position, you would not. This is exactly the point. David, can you believe that there was a time that people were attracted to Avodah Zarah, and Chachamim had to cancel. This is the biggest problem for us when Chodesh Elul comes.
So then Larry's question, then the Sheila Chozeret, how come Torah didn't give out for Avodah Zarah if it was such a big...
The Torah did give out. The Torah gave you the right to build a Bama. You have a house in Sfat, David, build a Bama. Isn't it nice? The only reason is because otherwise tomorrow people will go to the church in the corner. This is exactly the Bama, and this is why this is the way we explain the Rambam, that the Rambam says that the Korbanot are to take us away from Avodah Zarah. It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
So maybe, so the way to channel your Avodah Zarah urges is channel it towards Kiddusha, bring a korban to the Bet HaMikdash. A person is married, channel your Arayot challenges towards your wife.
Where does it say in the
You're
Gemara?
gonna- you don't
Rush
have
to
a
the Beit
wife.
Midrash. I think it says in the Gemara someplace, rush to the Beit Midrash. I think.
Yeah, but this is why in the older times, people were allowed, I mean, the Torah is allowed today too, to marry few wives. The Torah knows exactly those urges that people have. I mean, you cannot deny it. Yeah.
So that's why, David, there are some people who say, why do they have these, why do certain, let's use Chabad, for example, they have we all have it, a studied session every day, whether it's Chitat, whether it's Tehillim, whether it's Gemara. And why do they do it? Because when you go on the subway, which I do, and you put your face in your Tehillim, you don't have your Yifat Toar. It's exactly why they do it, because we're humans, and this is it's natural, so you have to fight it. It's just unique here that this time they give you sort of like, we read it as they give you a heter to do something like that, and Rabbi Prag's right, it makes it dangerous.
It's very dangerous. If you
let's take a minute about today's society. Today's society, there's temptations all over the place, whether it be gambling, whether it be drugs, whether it be who knows what else in society is throwing at us through social media. But the Larry Adayat apparently is a step above all that. Despite the challenge that everybody has, this is one cut above. Right. And therefore, that's why it's the focus.
Right. Yeah, David, if you want to see how far, but remember, this is an extreme left. Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry neither a divorcee nor a widow. Of course, there are normal explanations of Be'emet, beautiful, but listen to one of the Rishonim, I mean, even to write it down. This is what he says. He says, here, David, Kohen Gadol, we're not talking about Beit Sheni or where you paid money, like today's positions. Beit Rishon, this is the sentence of Pinchas. They are much on a higher level than the soldiers in the army. Here, the Kohen Gadol is attracted to a woman, but she is a Resheti, she's married. Chas v'shalom, he will never take her. On Yom Kippur, he goes into one place, Kodesh HaKodashim. We are afraid. Can you imagine that a Rishon writes it? This is 900 years ago. He might pray that the husband should die, he would marry her. The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, but not in my shtibel, in Kodesh HaKodashim.
But Rabbi Prag, when we learn with you throughout the entire year, I was just thinking about it. So many of the stories, you have Sarah and Paro, you have Dinah, you have David, you have Avshalom and Amnon, you have Pelegish Begiva. So many are stories that have to relate to sexual things where people could or couldn't control themselves, and they're filled. Avodah Zarah is there, but this human quality, and I didn't even think of all the possible stories. Reuven with the Dudaim, it's relentless.
All of them.
And there's a reason the Torah must be doing it to teach us something.
What you listed is the best proof. But David is the key. The key is we cannot run away from it, and you have to realize this is part of being a human being.
David HaMelech loses a son.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no better one. He loses a son. I mean, it's...
Maybe the Torah, maybe the Torah is saying is don't think you're a hero and understand your Yetzer Hara and deal with it. Don't try to think you're going to overcome it.
This is exactly the point. Deal with it. How? Go to the wedding that you know that 50% of the ladies are wearing bikinis.
But Rabbi Prag...
No, talking about David. David took Aisha Yifato so he could have...
I just told you because David wanted it in the war that I killed 15,000, not because I'm the hero, that's because Hashem is helping me. My mind is clear. But I know that my Achilles heel is a woman. So I saw Ma'acha. Can you imagine how beautiful she was? Okay, I'll bring you home later. In the back of his mind, in the cell of his mind, he's putting the woman. This is before you bring the Or Chaim and Kabbalah, of course.
But Rabbi Prague, we also will know that when we're going to learn next week or the week after Hilchot Shuvah, and so I know that, for example, that Giluya wrote is my problem, and I do Shuvah. Okay, so the Rambam says beautiful, you do Shuvah, but really, what is Shuvah Gemura? The next time I go somewhere.
Yes.
And it's put in front of me. There's a Eshet Yifat Torah right in front of me. What am I going to do? And the Rambam says the person who pushes that away, that is Tuvah Gemura. And, it's easy. Today I say, today I don't like X. But when because it's not in front of me now. I don't have the Danish in front of me. But later on, if the Danish is in front of me, am I going to be able to put that Danish aside? Yes, good luck.
David, this is it's a perfect example, and you do know that there are some philosophies in Judaism. No, don't run away. You have to confront it and learn to control it. This is very good to Rav Zalman Auerbach, Ovadia Yosef, but to us it's a little difficult.
A little.
Rav Zalman Auerbach in the older age, not in the 80s, but let's say 60s, 70s. When I was a teenager, he had a very serious operation on his brain. And he asked one of his children, can you stay overnight? And he was a man that never asked for any favor. He says, Abba, why? He says, because in the middle of the night, the nurses are coming in. He says, Abba, you just underwent an operation and you are an older man. He says, the inner desires will make me young and will make her very attractive also, even though she's...
I mean, we have to believe that the Gedolim also have issues. I can't, and they suffer, and they have to deal with these things maybe in a different way. But they're
human. We had a case of the governor, right? The rabbi that he took the ladder to the hayloft and he had to say fire to stop himself.
Right. Maybe, Rani, I purposely read this story every year with the kids. I say, well, what the Gemara is telling me stories like this? You know which story is referring to? The Gemara in Kiddushin says that some young ladies were redeemed by the community in Bavel from whatever the captives. Some of them were very attractive, and they were afraid to place them in private homes, so they brought them to the house of one of the great Amoraim. He placed them on the second floor, and the only way to get to the second floor was to use a moving staircase. This staircase to go up was weighing hundreds of pounds. I'm making it up, hundreds of pounds, but it's very heavy.
You needed two people to carry it.
Yeah. The Gemara, his name was Rav Amram. In the middle of the night, he's sitting and learning, and one of them was passing on the balcony on top. Somehow he looked, he saw her. The Gemara says he had such a strong desire, and obviously she was very good looking. He had such a strong desire that he himself went, and he was able to move this moving staircase, and he starts to go up. In the middle of the climbing up, he stops and he starts to scream, fire, fire. All the students are coming from all over, and they saw he's on the way up. They knew who is up there. So they told him, you're embarrassing us. He says, I'm embarrassing myself. I'm saving myself. This was a fire. Why is the story written there? This is exactly the story. We are afraid to deal with it. Yes, Rav Amram Chasida. The title Chasida is not written too often in the Gemara and too many people. Yes.
But Rabbi Prague, as we're talking about this, what I'm realizing by the stories, it's interesting that this issue is by men. I don't see any, you will know, where is the story in Tanakh of a woman, maybe Tamar, but or Mela, but otherwise.
Sure, women are hardwired differently. There's no question men are hardwired.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just thinking about it as we're talking. Where did we have it by us, by men, all the time.
Different
But
DNA, different structure. As I mentioned yesterday in a
fascinating.
crime case, a woman was accused of killing her children, and they say she strangled them, but they said that women don't strangle.
Right.
But and also the world has changed. Look, today this some of these this wouldn't apply. Today the world seems to be a little bit upside down, or a lot upside down.
Sure. There's no standards.
Both
Yeah, I
ways.
mean, Rashi is saying it, Rabbi, right? He says it straight out. לא דיברה התורה אלא כנגד יצר הרע.
Yeah, but
שאם
David,
אין הקדוש ברוך הוא מתירם, יישאנה באיסור.
but remember, David, the key is to realize the Torah is not talking about Russian soldiers after
No. Talk about a tzaddik.
going after German women, neither after American soldiers in Korea. Yes, talking to us. This is, Larry, this is the answer why every year. Yes.
It's fascinating. It's so interesting what the Torah, like David says, this they gave us the chashakta, and there's so many things like in the Sefer Brod, it's lo titaver, lo tachmod, but there they don't give you a heter. Here,
one of the reasons that the sincere religious community in Israel is so opposing to the army the way it is. It says this is young men, most of them are not married. It says if you make separate camps completely and females are not there, over 60 or 70% will go to the army right away. We can't.
Rabbi, the Ben Ish Chai, there's a pasuk, ki tetzel milchama, v'karata aleha leshalom. So the Ben Ish Chai is doresh that ki tetzel milchama is not talking about a war, but talking about the war against the Yetzer Hara. What is karata aleha leshalom? Don't think that you're going to be able to overcome this Yetzer by yourself. Karata aleha leshalom is you have to get married. You have to call your wife. Lishal, you have to make peace. Of a karata, right? You need to get married because that's your only strategy to overcome this.
But this is again, the Ben Ish Chai says this about Torah as a message to young men. This is why by the Hasidim, up to 20, most Hasidim, even today, believe it or not, get married very young. No one learns in a kollel. Before you go to real life to work, you have to be married. You get married in a very young age. Look now, Larry, now we spend all the time on that. Go to
I'm sorry, Rabbi.
And I'm speaking to myself. This is life. I mean, you go out, you're on the subway every day. It's difficult. Look at Perek Chafei. Listen, this is a good, it's a, so to say, Hasidic about Torah, but the message is very powerful. It's not far from the Pshat. Ki yeh riv ben anashim, Perek Chafei. Rani, I'm sorry, I don't have the hard scroll. Perek Chafei.
Which?
1062, page 1062.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
I got it. Thank you very much.
Ki yeh riv ben anashim. There is an argument. וניגשו אל המשפט ושפטום, they go to the judges. והיה, listen carefully, אם בין הכות הרשע, if the crime is a crime that deserves 39 lashes, this is a big question why, if I have an argument with David Shem Tov, this is not about an Aveira that potentially can get Malkot. And here somehow, where is the Torah introducing the concept of 39 lashes here? The guy.
What is the word bin? What does this word bin mean?
The Shalat Tova. You mean the Pshat? You're asking.
Yeah. I never heard this word bin.
Yeah. I happen to have the Netziv in front of me. The Netziv says bin ze lehavin.
Yeah, from Bina, like
the shows of Bina.
Like you have it.
If you understand that he needs lashes.
למשל, he gives an example. אם יבינו שראוי הרשע להכותו כגון, שהרים יד על חברו, he punched him, yes? המרים יד על חברו, if there is no monetary damage, the punishment is 39 lashes. Anyway, listen. פסוק ג' 40 יכנו, לא יוסיף. פן יוסיף להכותו על אלה, מכה רבה ונקלע אחיך בעיניך. פשט, דיוויד, ממש פשט, תן לי פשט איזה פסוק.
You should give him 40 lashes, not more, because if you give him more, you might degrade him.
Degrade him, or פן יוסיף להכותו מכה רבה, maybe you'll make a mistake and give more. And then David is right, degrade him. This says the Gemara in Masechet Makot, please. The Gemara says, look on people. Some people are foolish. They stand up when the real scholar passes by, but they are not showing similar respect, here it is, to when a Sefer Torah is passing by, they stand up. When real scholars are, I did set it up, when a real scholar is passing by, they get up a little. When the Torah passes by, then everyone stands up. So the Gemara says, look how fools people are. They don't understand, you hear? That the real Talmidei Chachamim are the interpreters of the Torah, and the Gemara is using this pasuk. In reality, if I ate a cheeseburger and there are two witnesses and they gave me a warning, how many malchot do I get? 39, not 40. Says the Gemara, who gave them the power to interpret that 40 really means 39? It says 40 yakenu. Here it is. 40 yakenu. Here, this is the koach of Chachmei Torah Sheba'al Peh. So how can you show utmost respect to a Sefer Torah, which is fine, but not showing utmost respect to the Torah, to the scholars themselves? This is the example the Gemara is using. Okay, there is a Maharal, there is the two Gedolim Me'od met in Europe, and one was asking if the Gemara wants to show us the greatness of real Chachmei Torah, that they have the right, mamash, to take the text. Yes? Why didn't they bring a pasuk? This is Sefer Dvarim 25. Why didn't they bring Sefer Vayikra? It says, Ad mimochorat HaShabbat HaShvi'it tisperu 50 yom. Tisperu 50 yom. We count only 49. You have to wait till Kitei Tzeh. Says the Hasidic rabbi, the greatness is that they understood that if you can give a Jew one lash less, do it. Do whatever it can. I mean, remember, it's a good Dvar Torah, but this is based on the Rambam. The Rambam says, you hear, at Mina Torah, you have to give 40. Chachamim, David, I'm going now to your interpretation. Chachamim came and they said, give 39, because if you give 40, you might make a mistake, you give 41. Here, this is what the Rambam says. The Rambam says, 40 yakenu min Torah, 40 Chachamim. So the greatness of Chachamim that they understood when you're giving lashes, let's try to give one less.
But let me add a little modern psychology for whatever it's worth. Larry, forgive me for going there. You know, the children rise to the level of the expectation. Once you give them 40, they're labeled. That's it. That's what they are. No ands, if or buts. If they're 39, there's a shot.
This is very.
They're not all bad.
So
I'm thinking modern psychology is the same thing. If we label a kid, you're bad. In fact, they told us years ago when we were raising our children, don't never tell the child they're bad. Tell them what they did is wrong.
It is bad, sure.
So the expectation is key, especially as a teacher, Rabbi. Of course, you know how many children you've managed to guide and take. Depending how you talk to them, is a whole different world where they end up.
You know, sometimes when the issue comes up in class, in the olden times, David, did your father smack you once? The father used to give a smack here and there. So
yes, many times.
Oh, so the kids say, we wish, here it is. We wish that my father would smack me, because today he's not doing it because legally he's afraid, but he's using his tongue to stab me, and the stabs of the tongue stay with me forever. You understand? Mm-hmm. I can't understand. I misbehaved. Okay, so my father gets upset too often, and I hate it. Correct. but it's only a smack that helps you when you get it.
Mm.
If you are saying to a kid, and very often if the kid is in a low self-esteem stage, it stays with him forever.
I went to Talmud Torah. I was in public school, and we had these teachers that taught us basically how to read the Mizmorim and how to read Rashi and etc. But there was a caretaker who used to come up and bring the teacher or the rabbi hot tea. But there's always a kid that misbehaved. They put him in the corner, and then the caretaker would come in and say Hamor Gadol. So that was great for self-esteem.
Rabbi Prague, going back to what you said about people standing for the rabbi, I've told you this, that famous video where the Rebbe comes to where the Rav comes to 770 and they fight. Who's walking the other one out? Ronnie, if you go on YouTube, you could see it, the Rav and the Rebbe. It is something fascinating to watch. And it goes back to what we learned last week, where you have to walk somebody out. And Rabbi Bromberg tells me that when he goes to see Rav Avram Yeshua, the Rosh Yeshiva in Brisk, he gets up and walks him downstairs. And, I mean, here's a man who's full of Torah, who has all day he's learning. He does this mitzvah and he's makpid on this mitzvah.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And we skip over it, but these giants, they took this so seriously. It's something to behold.
You see this video, Rani. Remember, the Lubavitcher Rebbe had tens of thousands of people cheering. Yes, he's a Hasidic leader. Reb Soloveitchik was modern, he's teaching in YU. Regardless, they look on each other. They know exactly. This is the point. This is exactly the point.
Ronnie, it's worth spending 5 minutes watching it if you have the opportunity. You learn so much from that video. Wow.
I just have to listen to Rabbi Prague. I'm learning quite well. Thank God.
Have a great.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom is a beautiful way to enter the Shabbat. Thank you.
Bezrat Hashem, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, about 9:15, Rabbi. Is that more or less the timetable?
9:20 comes. 9:20. Yeah.
So I'll put it on the chat. This way everybody knows not to get on so early. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great Shabbat, everybody.
Bye. Have a good Shabbos, everybody.